Believe it or not, I don't go out and buy a bunch of fancy stuff to show off or anything, man. What is it like people who go out and buy really fancy shoes and stuff like that, or shirts or clothes or Lamborghinis and shits? I don't do anything like that. I just get necessities, and if I want something that, it looks nice, I'll say. I'll save up for it. Or if it's for something for stream, for content.
Blue Man's cheered X250. Thank you. You crashing a Lambo
I'm not
would be really
good with
content.
my money. Trust me, I have. I have to buy new stuff for the models and get upgrades constantly. Trying to keep up with trends and stuff like that, it's very costly. Getting upgrades say for instance the gloves was expensive. Not, but it's for work. It's a write-off. So it's just... How do I say this? Being a VTuber, choosing this line for streaming and YouTubing. It can either be very expensive or, within budgeting, because there are free apps and stuff like that. So it could be very, very expensive. Yeah, you can use free V-ROI models. That's the way to go. Like I said, there's a bunch of applications that are completely free where you make your own model. And I know tons of VTubers who made their model completely free, and they actually look amazing. I wouldn't even be able to tell that was from Viroid. I mean, you could also go the route of, what is it, using the Discord method? Where you can get some art done for your OC character or whatever. And just have it with its mouth open and closed. So every time you talk you see it move. So you can get a super detailed one, and do that when you're able to save enough money to start getting it upgraded. So it's there. There are different routes you can take.
Cubal2 cheered X250. Thank you. You could be a literal talking toaster and we would still be here.
Well, that's an idea. I will say for the future then. I always give advice, you just are never here to hear them. You would be surprised about how often I actually give advice. If you guys have any questions as far as streaming or VTubers go. I think I can definitely give you a small direction to go to. I swear to God, I think I saw somebody was charging people for advice on what to do. I think it was on Twitter. I don't really understand why that's a thing.
Blemished_Halo cheered X300. Thank you, your advice, your memes are the DNA of my soul. Zenter together.
Because time is money. I could literally give you the smallest bit of advice for completely free. And you could probably go and do something incredible. You would be surprised. You would absolutely be surprised about how some people take the smallest bit of free advice, they go do something insane and blow up. It's crazy. Best place to find commissions for being a VTuber. You can, there's a Discord for that, actually. I believe it's called the Live 2D Discord. Yeah, there's a complete Discord full of artists waiting for you guys to commission them. Yes, and it's also run by the owner of Iron Vortex, and let me tell you, You can trust those people, I work with them.
Buzz Killington
They are
13
the
cheered
hardest working
Dex
people.
250. Thank you. I would ask your advice for learning how to stall better.
But they are the
but
most
I know I'd never
understanding
get an
people
answer.
too. Really awesome people. Listen, if you guys have anything you want to ask right now is the time to ask before we move on. Do artists take exposure as payment? No, that's not how that works. Is it hard to get started as a VTuber? It just depends on like what? What do you mean by that? Are you talking about in terms of growth, or are you talking in terms of, like, equipment and stuff? Anybody can be a VTuber. Equipment and stuff. You can do it for absolutely free. What was your first program you used for your model? Suva. But I think the programmer who was working on it ended up being preoccupied with life and dropped it. So I don't think it gets any more updates. So there are other programs to use, though now that are probably better than it. Because there's so many more programs that have use the function of the tracking software. How do you grow as a VTuber? How to promote yourself while not annoying people? Good question actually. Twitter is your friend. Reddit is your friend. The best way to do this is by using hashtags. There is also a place on Reddit where newbie tubers go to post clips and stuff of themselves, for debuts and stuff like that. Hashtags should be used to your advantage. I can't tell you how many times I see random VTubers pop up on Twitter by using the hashtags. They are literally just starting up and they have the hashtag system working for them.
Lucian Carpenting cheered Dex 300. Thank you. With how wonderful you are, how sincere you are, and how kind you are. Of course we were bothered when you said you were mediocre yesterday. Yeah, chat can be a bunch of trolls sometimes, but at the end of the day we're all here because of you. You are so uplifting and inspirational. Thank you for everything you do.
Alright, anybody else got any questions I can try and answer them the best I can. Any advice for unaffiliated VTubers on content creation? I actually do have something for you guys. It's rarely talked about. It's all about getting in on trends. If you see something explode, start exploding on popularity. If you see things just beginning to take off, you should do your hardest to jump in on that. I can't tell you how many times I've seen people do that. But if you jump into a trend and there is a pretty good chance you may get picked up. People tend to forget. Trends are your friends. But they go by very fast, so the moment you see it, you need to be quick. You have to jump on that immediately. Of course, there are times where you can bring it back though. I know there are people who make memes that are old and then those blow up somehow. It's crazy, it's weird how it works. You should not feel like trends are cheap. It's how things work. If you're trying to grow and stuff like that, it's how that works. Plus you're putting in your own personality into it. There's nothing wrong with that. What do you recommend people do for debuts? So, here is one thing that I've noticed. For being an independent
Halo
tuber.
cheered Dex300. Thank you. As a somewhat memer myself, I feel like I have to
So
add that you
see
don't
people
just
who
do
have
a
these
popular
super
meme
fancy
template.
models.
The quality and the joke matters as well. I got downvoted because I made
They're
it
really
errors.
nice looking. They're gorgeous. Obviously this is not an attack on anybody. This is advice. You could have the most beautiful model. But if you don't have the connection with each chat, if you don't have a connection with your audience, they're not going to be with you the next day. You want to try your hardest to find that connection with your audience. Because if you're just showing off your model, dude, it's just a model speaking for you. It's not yourself speaking to them. Obviously. There are occasions where the opposite happens. I don't know how that way works.
True.
But eventually over time it starts dropping though. So that is something that's super important, like, you could have the model. But if you don't have a connection with your audience, then it's kind of just hard to stay on top of that then. Take for instance me and my chat have a very unique connection. One that I still can't fucking figure out, dude. Oh, let's see. I see a question. How often do the tubers change up their model? That's a good question. So it just all depends. I know some corporate usually has a guide map or like a road map for their VTubers. So like they'll put into something for like a season or something like that. But most of the time, it's usually the latter where the VTuber just wants something new. Not really anything behind it, it's just somebody just wants to do something nice or have fun. Let me tell you one thing though. If you're taking me as inspiration, if you're trying to do like my footsteps of doing like this banter between me and the chats, you need to have thick skin. You need to be able to take it. Like this is 100% serious. I can't tell you how many times where I see comments saying how I'm able to do this. It's about knowing when to put your foot down. But it's also being able to just laugh at yourself, laughing at yourself. Being able to have fun. You know, being carefree, it's super important. If you're going into doing what I do, like with the chat, you're gonna get pissed off like right away. If you're going into it unprepared, you're gonna take somebody's banter or joke to heart and you're going to ban them, and then people are gonna be like, whoa, I can't do a joke. And people are going to be scared, so you just need to be able to take jokes basically and be able to differentiate. Also, be sure to set up guidelines and rules for your stream. How important is tuber lore? Good question. It just depends on how you want. How deep do you want your chat invested in you? Like how deep do you want your audience invested into your character? You don't even have to do that, to be honest. You really don't. I know plenty of people who don't have a lore video behind them. Dude, you could come up with the goofiest fucking lore and people would love it, by the way. Like look at the gecko thing. That's goofy as shit. People loved it. Just have fun with it. One last question. How can someone learn to be a mod or to be able to do mod duties? It just depends on like your connection with the streamer or if you apply to it and you have some kind of experience behind it. But my mods, bless their hearts. We have moderation mod appreciation week coming up. But for the most part they do this voluntarily, and they have their own lives too, by the way. But they're also my friends, who have been around for quite a long time. Like take for instance peanut butter. Peanut butter was basically the first mod for the channel, and this was on YouTube.
Love you, Zen.
So they've been my moderator for voluntarily, for God knows how long now. I will always give appreciation to them because they do so much for the community. They don't even have to. That they could literally up and leave whenever they want to. I would understand. But they take time out of their day to be here with you guys. So shout out to the moderators like that and do that kind of stuff, man. Like, very awesome. So basically connect with your streamer. There's a chance you could become a moderator for them, or just sign up. Does it get overwhelming sometimes? No. But that's just me. That goes for different people. I am used to working like this. I used to be a manager, so I'm used to multitasking constantly. So it's just from experience. What's one of the most fun parts about being a VTuber? Designing and putting in work to make your character come to life. It's pretty cool. How difficult is editing?
Alantha Stranger cheered X250. Thank you. These moments where you just talk to us are the moments I truly enjoy the most. I truly appreciate these moments. Thanks for sharing your time with us.
So I started video editing and photoshopping.
You feel like a friend for many of us.
Back in 2011. So I have years of experience. So usually a quick Photoshop editor or something that takes me less than 5 minutes. It just depends on the complexity. But usually most of the time it takes me about less than an hour. But when it comes to video editing, that is a completely different thing. Usually for video editing, let's take for instance the overkill video. I did that one myself. All the edits and everything. So with cutting up sections of the video, adding overlays, effects, FX, green screen effects. That video took me well over probably 24 hours. So it is a shit ton of work. So shout out to my editors Razor Man, Midnight Madman, and the Vodity team. How much work do you do for the stream outside of streaming? So if this is the route you're taking, there is actually a lot of work that goes into this. Well, firstly, don't fuck up your sleep schedule, because you'll come to regret it, depending on your line of work. If you're going down the YouTube path, you are constantly recording. You're gonna be recording videos and shit like that every single day almost, and then editing. So most of your time is going to be towards editing though. If you're going towards streaming, basically, either you gotta be a really badass motherfucker when it comes to video games, or you got to constantly bring something new to each stream. And you also, big important thing here, you need to be able to hold a conversation with your chat for as long as you can. What may seem like stalling? His act is actually, well, this is actually basically a form of, how would you say, entertainment. So without you even realizing, you guys have been here for 4.5 hours with me just talking to you guys and holding the conversation. I want you to think about that. I want you to think how hard that actually is. Because, let's say for instance I'm not a professional gamer, I'm not all inspiring you guys with insane fucking shots. This is me holding a conversation with you guys for 4.5 hours. If I was not able to do this, it would basically be like having a conversation every 25 minutes. And you know how boring that would be? That would be where is the charm of that? It involves, like take for instance the Notepad, by the way, which I was talking about earlier. Do you realize what I mean by this? I'm talking to you guys for 4.5 hours right now. You're hearing me. Imagine that on the Notepad it was just singing letters. You're just seeing letters being typed. And I was able to hold an audience with that. It's a lot of practice. And this was not. This is me saying, you don't have to do that. People have their own way of communicating. Just be prepared for putting in the communication. It was an old lady who would collect a bunch of anime games and stuff like that and play them for her audience. So essentially that's what I'm getting at basically though. Alright, so Food for Dogs has over 200,000 YouTube subscribers. She posts usually about every month or so. She's legit. She likes those types of games and she likes anime. She's just enjoying it. So yes. Even if you're in your late 30s, if you're in your late 40s, 50s or 60s or 70s or 80s, you can still do it. You could literally still do it. There's nothing there to hold you back. If I was to ever run into or see a 80 or 70-year-old tuber who has an actual model that shows their age, they're not afraid to show that, I would love for a chance to interact with them. Maybe there is one and I haven't seen them yet, but I think that would be really cool. I'm not old, guys, I'm literally 29. There's a difference here, So I think I am the oldest one in my group though.
Blue Man's cheered
I'm pretty sure I am.
250. Thank you. There will be one in 40 years. She will be called Zentreya and she will still be fucking stalling.
How funny would that be if I was still going?
250. Thank you. I tuned in few minutes ago, but this is an actual question for you. How should one deal with hatred as a YouTuber or streamer?
That's a good question. I'm gonna be super honest with you. It's going to happen regardless. You're always going to have somebody who hates you. No matter what you do, no matter how good of a street you are. No matter how much of an angel you are. There will be somebody who finds something to hate you about. The important thing is, who gives a fuck about them? Why should you care about what they say? Block them. Oh my god, person blocked me. I won. No, I actually won because I don't have to see you anymore. I don't have to see your act. I forget you exist. You do not care what they think. You keep pushing forward. You focus on the good comments.
Tier 2 for 13. Thank you. 13 months.
You focus
really,
on making your content.
I've been watching you since you started streaming years ago. I love you so much, Zen. Thank you for all the smiles and laughs. You're such an inspiration.
You see,
you for
the people who come into the chat and make these
3.
big sentences. They're typing out. Oh ha ha, I'm gonna make this streamer so mad by typing out this entire fucking 100-word sentence. It takes me 1 second to ban you and forget you exist. The moral is, keep going
Lucian
forward.
Carpenting cheered Dex 300. Thank you. What's something you should avoid doing while pursuing this path? For example, what's something you wish you hadn't done given the advantage of hindsight?
That's a good question. Overthinking things is one of my worst factors. Last year it was probably one of my worst. It was definitely one of my worst contributing factors. It led to a lot of bad things. I would overthink and then I would put myself into a spiral of depression. And it got really bad. I'd rather not say, but there was a choice I had done, and without realizing it. Because of overthinking. I think when you get into this line of work, you tend to overthink a lot of things. You need to take an opportunity to step back. Take a step back, look at everything that's going on. It could be a number of things that's going on. For that situation that you are in. Rationalize. Examine. Talk about it. Because if you overthink too much on something, your mind stays on that. And it becomes something that affects you mentally. So take a deep breath, step back. And analyze the situation and really focus. And think to yourself, am I overthinking this? Is this something that it's out of my control?
Avatar_VX
Is this something that I can do?
250. Thank you, I feel like
Or
this has
something I
been
can
an amazing
control.
learning experience. I'm thankful for being able to ask an
Perspective.
experienced VTuber these questions. Even though I have
Is
more
very
questions,
important.
I am grateful for what was answered. Thank you, Zentreya.
So last year was definitely rough for me. I did overthink a lot of things. With growth comes overthinking. I mean, in general, overthinking is a thing all of us have to face. So again, perspective is very important. Rationalizing. Like this year, I have definitely done a good job. I'm going to give myself some credit. I've done a good job of not overthinking things. So I'm very happy with how I've set myself up this year. So again, if you find yourself overthinking constantly, take steps back. Rationalize. Perspective. Is it something you can control? If it's out of your control, then there's nothing you can do. Move on. Do I manage 4 games? Well, hell to the fucking no. I actually hate horror games. So yeah, I don't do horror games very well. I love horror and everything about it. I just don't like horror games. Basically, I hate it because I would never put myself in that situation, unless the game is like a moment where it's out of your control then. But for the most part, if it's a game where I know it's a situation I can control, I hate it. Because I would get the fuck out of there, dude. Exactly, take for instance Outlast. That game was fucking horrifying and I hated it. Because why the fuck am I going to this place? Can I just fucking leave, dude? This is not fucking worth it, man. Like if I see a giant pool of fucking blood, I'm gonna get the fuck out of there. I've no fucking business being here, and it is not worth it. The backrooms is something that's out of my control, and that's horrifying in and of itself. But that's what makes it good. It's out of your control. I still hated it, but it was good.
Arranged Karma 2 cheered Dex 300. Thank you, I have a question. How long, realistically and/or practically do you see yourself continuing to be a VTuber? Also, when does the game start, Kek?
Last question here, by the way. This is the last one, guys. How long do I continue? How do I? How long do I see myself doing this, huh? Until I can no longer do it, or I guess something happens to me. I will continue to do this for as long as I can. Not like that, guys, come on. I'm not going to put myself in danger or anything like that.